What is going on, everybody, and welcome back to the Lineman Life podcast. Today, got some news going on around the NFL. Make sure you hit the like button if you like this stream. Smash that like button, get us up there in that YouTube algorithm. Now, some news coming out of the NFL. Carlos Dunlap traded from the Bengals to the Seahawks ahead of the deadline. Gonna jump right into things real quick with you guys there. Let's take a look here. We got a Bleacher Report article on this. Thought this was an interesting move to make for the Bengals and the Seahawks, but I can see why it's being made, at least from the Seahawks standpoint. They need somebody on defense to help turn around that debacle of a defense that they have right now. Let's see here. Let me share this with you guys. Okay. So, whoops. As you can see here, we got a Bleacher Report article. Cincinnati Bengals reportedly agreed to trade disgruntled defensive end Carlos Dunlap to the Seahawks. ESPN reported the deal was done before 4 p.m. Eastern Wednesday. The Bengals will receive a 7th-round pick and offensive lineman B.J. Finney. Okay. Dunlap spent his first 10-plus seasons with the Bengals, but has had a falling out with the team in 2020. He was seen having a blow-up argument with the defensive coordinator Lou Anarumo on the sidelines during Sunday's loss to Cleveland and posted on social media about selling his house. Yes, he did, in fact, do that. He did. Matter of fact, let me see if we can pull that up here. Here we go. So here, Carlos Dunlap shares a tweet saying, in the hottest neighborhood, school district, airport, and everything else you can think of, serious inquiries only with proof of funds, please. Thanks in advance. Woo! And then somebody responded, sucker shit los. Wow. Okay. Teammate didn't like that. So he's clearly having a falling out, not only with his defensive coordinator, he's also having a falling out with his teammates. And when that happens, it's pretty much time to go. It's time to go when that happens. Carlos Dunlap going to Seattle. Seahawks could use him. That's for damn sure. But let's continue on with the article here. It says, we just handle that internally, Coach Zach Taylor told reporters Sunday. We got a group of guys in the locker room who want so badly to do things the right way and get this to where we want to be. Finney signed a 2-year, $8 million contract with the Seahawks before the season, but has not played an offensive snap. That's weird. His presence will hopefully boost the Cincinnati offensive line that ranks among the NFL's worst. The Seahawks have recorded only 9 sacks this season, which is tied with New England for 26 in the NFL. So right there you see where one of the major issues for the Seahawks defense sits. It sits on the fact that they can't get pressure on the quarterback. If you can't get pressure on the quarterback, then your defensive backs are going to be in coverage all day. If your defensive backs are in coverage all day, then you're going to be giving up a lot of yardage in the air because they can't cover forever, nor should they be expected to. So this is a move that definitely was a must for the Seahawks, mainly because of the availability. And Carlos Dunlap is a proven pass rusher in his career that he's done well, and he's been a consistent player up until this point. But with everything going on with him in Cincinnati this year, obviously that could be a big reason why his numbers are down. It says Dunlap has recorded at least 7.5 sacks each of the previous 7 seasons, but was struggling to produce in one of the NFL's worst defenses. Pro Football Focus has given Dunlap a dismal 53.9 grade for the season, and he's been largely frozen out of the defensive line rotation. So, there's a couple things that you got to be able to take from this article to really understand the situation as it lays right now for Carlos Dunlap. I mean, he's having a below average season for him. And he's got these, he's got bad grades from Pro Football Focus, which, you don't want to take too much into account with these analytic websites that claim to, look at the film and be able to grade the same way that scouts grade. It's different. It's not the same as how you get coached when you're in a locker room, because scouts are usually not the offensive line coaches who are giving you the critiques. So they can see things differently. But in his situation, he's going to a team that needs his services. And in Cincinnati, whether it be because of personal reasons or whether it be because of some different adjustments to their defensive scheme where they're not using him nearly as much, that's made him disgruntled. So now it's better for them not to put him out there on the field because he might, be one of those guys who just doesn't give his full effort. I can't imagine why that would happen. He's a professional, but you never know. But Carlos Dunlap is going to go somewhere in Seattle, and he's going to be a factor for their defense. He's definitely going to help them improve that defensive line. The pressure that they're unable to get right now is costing them dearly. They're having to outscore everybody they play in shootouts. It's never going to work. In the long run, you have to have a defense that can make some kind of stops. And it's not normal for us to see Seattle struggle on defense. I know that's a weird thing to see. This is a team that's been, consistently ranked amongst the best in the league on the defensive side of the ball over the last decade. So definitely is not something that people are accustomed to seeing. But if you know Pete Carroll and you know how he operates that team, he's going to do everything he can to get that turned around. And that defense is going to start making more plays with Carlos Dunlap as a member of their D-line. And I would expect for him to have an almost immediate impact just because of how bad it is in Seattle. They could use this desperately. And, I don't know that if he's in good graces with the Bengals, that this same situation is something that would have played out this way. But he for sure, being what it is right now, for sure is something that I'm sure Seattle was ready to pounce on as soon as there was any kind of idea that he was going to be available for a trade. Let's check out a super chat right here from RC from NYC. RC from NYC says, "What's up, Uche? What's up, chat? Hope everyone is good, and I hope everyone is doing well also, and appreciate that very much." RC from NYC, longtime member of the O-line here on my channel. If you'd like to join the O-line, do me a favor, hit that join button down below. You can be a member on a number of different tiers. We've got discounts on merch. We have live streams with members where I get some members to come on and do a live stream with me, whether it's playing some video games or maybe talking football. That's something that's definitely a perk for being a member of the O-line. So make sure you hit that and also smash that like button and share this with your friends. Let's boost this channel and keep it growing. Now, let's talk a little bit about Cam Newton. As most of you saw, there was a bit of a disaster for him in New England or with New England last week. These guys got blown out, and Cam Newton was benched. He threw 3 interceptions in the first half. I can't remember the last quarterback that I've ever seen that threw 3 interceptions in the first half and didn't get benched. But, this was a very ugly game for the New England Patriots. They got beat 33-6 by the 49ers. This is a 49ers team that was injured, beat up, came in, laid the smack down against the Patriots. Cam Newton looked abysmal. He looked bad. His passes looked like crap. His accuracy looked like junk. It was an all-around dumpster fire, for lack of a better word. And when we're talking about what happened with Cam Newton, You know, I've done a couple of videos on Cam Newton and just on his ability as a quarterback. And I tell people this all the time, you know, if you really dive into Cam Newton's game and you look at the stats and you check out a little bit of film on Cam Newton, one thing you'll notice is that he is one of the streakiest passers of the quote unquote elite level quarterbacks in the NFL. He's one of the streakiest guys out there. And really, the fact of the matter with him is that even in his MVP season, his Super Bowl season, 2015, I believe, even in that season, if you looked at his stats and you looked at his quarterback rating and you looked at his completion percentage and all of the major categories for passing for quarterbacks, this guy was middle of the pack. He was middle of the pack. Middle of the pack. This guy was average at his best. He was average throwing the ball. So you want to tailor your system around what he does bring to the table. And he's a versatile quarterback. He does have athletic ability that is hard to find at the quarterback position. He came into the league as a phenom because of that. And a lot of the success that he had early in his career was because of his ability to play as a little bit of a mix between guys like Vince Young, and Vince Young splashed with a cannon arm, with a kind of Phillip Rivers type arm. He can throw the ball for days. He can get it all over the field, but he's not going to always be that accurate. And again, you can't be so surprised that this kind of thing happens if you're going to put it on Cam Newton to bring your team back. I don't think Cam Newton was ever really a great quarterback at bringing teams back from large deficits. And with no weapons in New England, because he has no weapons, there's no receivers. They don't really have much of a running game. Their offensive line isn't very good. This is a team that is in need of a lot of new talent. And, he's not the guy who's going to be able to carry a team that isn't already in a good space and have an identity that they know that they're going to follow. He's just not that good of a quarterback. And I mean, the New England Patriots are in a pretty rough scenario as it is. I mean, there's rumors about Stephon Gilmore being traded. That's something that would be, breaking news most definitely if that turns out to be, something that comes to fruition. If this guy gets traded, you now have a defense that is now decimated of its star player. You have an offense that can't get the star that they brought in to perform on the level that they hoped that he would. And, that's going to lead to high draft picks. If it's for the Patriots, that's going to lead to high draft picks. These guys are going to be looking to pick some high quality college players if they can't get this thing figured out. So I would assume actually that the Patriots might be one of those teams that is trying to make a move before the trade deadline, and maybe they're looking to get a guy like Fitzpatrick. Maybe they're looking to, maybe they might try and get rid of Cam. Maybe they're going to cut their losses. We don't know. I think that it's I think that as his situation sits right now, I wouldn't bench him for the next game. I would have him starting at quarterback, because you got to give him that one game, that one game benefit. I mean, you can have a pretty crappy game, and there's a chance for you to bounce back from that. I mean, that's something that happens often. I mean, players can have bad weeks. We've seen it with guys like Peyton Manning. We've seen it with guys like any of the star quarterbacks, Russell Wilson, any of them. You've seen them have bad games and bounce back from that. So I would assume that that with Bill Belichick giving his full support to Cam Newton, that they are going to commit, I would think, at least for one more game. It can't be as bad as this game against the 49ers. We know that much. Can't be as bad as this game with the Niners. But Cam Newton's got to work on he's got to get back down to the basics. He's got to start working on his mechanics, his technique. Has to be refined again, because, you could see in a lot of his passes, at least from what I noticed, when he's throwing the ball on some of those passes that were just horribly off, the ball doesn't come out of his hand until he's in his downswing, and you're supposed to be getting that ball out at the peak, at the top of your swing, the top of your rotation, and he wasn't doing that. I mean, he threw one ball dead in the dirt. It was ugly. He threw it dead in the dirt. You could tell the ball didn't come out of his hand until his wrist was starting to point downward. The ball went about 8 yards and just bounced off the ground, one-hopped it. That's a technique thing, and maybe it's, maybe he's still not recovered from COVID like he thought he may have been. I mean, it's, it could be a situation where he's still dealing with some slight after effects from that, and now here he is. He's got people on his back. Maybe we don't know the whole story, but if I'm Bill Belichick, I take that same action. You got to stick with him for another week. And you got to see how he does. You got to see if he can rebound from this. Get back to just simplifying in his mind what he needs to do. And I would assume that he'll have a better performance than he did against the Niners. But Cam Newton definitely in a situation where he needs to bounce back, and he needs to bounce back well. Now, other trade news. There's a lot of I'm looking through this Bleacher Report here. Let me share this back with you guys so you guys take a look at it. There's a lot of little potential trades that are going to be going down here in the next week. But one of those, Falcons shopping Takk McKinley. This is a 2017 first round D end. I mean, that's weird. I mean, how is it 2 years into a first round pick and you're already shopping them? Let's see what they got to say about this. And real quick, before we even get into that, let me get this super chat from Dodger of Zion. Oh, guys, I got to tell you all about this one. Dodger of Zion for $10. Thank you so much. She says, psyched for tonight, dude. See you before 7. And that is correct, because I will be with urinating on the urinating trees Discord tonight, running some games of Among Us with their crew. That should be fun, something I'm excited for. But thank you, Dodger of Zion, for that $10 super chat. And also we have Biscuit. Oh, Biscuit's one of my new members here. Biscuit 92 for $5. Appreciate that. He says, my boys, the only undefeated. Oh, yeah, we'll get to them. We'll get to those boys, them boys you got over there in the old Berg. But yeah, appreciate that very much. Going to be playing Among Us with some of the people over from the Urinating Trees Discord server. Did Lineman Life last week with Urinating Tree on as a special guest, guy that I really enjoyed having on. Great channel. Go check out his channel if you haven't already done so. I'm sure a lot of you guys are subscribed to it. I know I am. And I love checking out his week in foosball, his tank war videos. They crack me up. But there's going to be we're going to be playing Among Us, and I'm really appreciative that they asked me to be on it. Really great group of people, great community to work with thus far. So looking forward to that. Make sure you check out. I'll leave the link once I get into it. I'll leave the link for you guys to come in and check out the Among Us stream. Should be some good fun. I'm pretty cunning with Among Us, so should be something that'll be a good time. Really looking forward to it. Also, now let's take a look back at this article with the Falcons. We have the Falcons engaged. The Falcons have engaged in trade discussions centered around defensive end Takaris McKinley, according to NFL Network. Other teams believe the former first-round pick gets moved before Tuesday's deadline, though no deal is imminent per sources. So they've got this guy up. They're trying to shop him around. Let's see what's going on here. It says McKinley has 8 tackles and 1 sack through 4 games this year. Falcons selected him 26th overall in 2017. He was supposed to help a defensive line that ranked 24th in adjusted sack rate the season before. And what's often a telltale sign regarding a player's performance, team declined fifth-year option for the 2021 season. He has posted 17.5 sacks in 49 career games. You can only control what you can control, McKinley said in August, per ESPN's Von McClure. I can't talk to TD, general manager Thomas Dimitroff, who has since been fired, and beg him, hey, man, accept my fifth-year option. I can't do that. That's up to them. Whatever I showed in 3 years, they decided to decline my option, which is cool. I still got another year here, still got another year to prove myself. So he took the right attitude, but unfortunately, you were in the wrong franchise. The Falcons, as we all know, hot mess, super hot mess. These guys, 1-6. I mean, look, I live in Atlanta. It's becoming a big meme here, just how completely ineffective and inept Atlanta sports has been in this recent past, going all the way back to the Super Bowl. Really, I think that was the catalyst of all this. I said it then when it happened. I told people, I said, look, y'all don't understand. These guys blew the biggest lead in Super Bowl history. These guys had the biggest meltdown in the history of professional football, maybe in the history of sports. Maybe. 28-3 is all you need to say to somebody in Atlanta when they're arguing with you about sports. Just say 28-3 and watch their entire demeanor sink into the abyss of depression and despair, because that was the moment that changed this city as far as sports is concerned. And now to have the things happen that have happened since, with the Braves being up 3-1 in the world in the championship series to get to the World Series, they blow a 3-1 lead. Go figure. This is Atlanta sports. The Falcons had 2 games in a row where they had 20-plus point leads, and they lose both games. I mean, it was sad, then it was infuriating, and now it's just pathetic. So, a lot of things going on out there in Atlanta for the Falcons that just aren't coming together, and it's not working out the way that people would have hoped. I think that's an understatement. It's just a straight dumpster fire, and anybody who's smart at this point is just getting out while they can. Get out. So I'm sure he's probably looking at a resurgence for his career if he can get out of Atlanta. Hopefully somebody will, toss up a 6th or 7th rounder for him, because that's probably as much as he's worth based on what he's played right now. But it's just that kind of culture right now in Atlanta, and the trade market is going to be. I could see a number of players being put up for trade coming out of teams like Atlanta, teams that now they're not looking at having a good season, and another team, Minnesota. I could see them trying to move some guys before it's all said and done. It's really the trade season this year is going to be. There's going to be some players who are involved in it. I mean, even the Cowboys. Cowboys are moving on from a lot of players that they had. Cowboys moving on from Dontari Poe, Daryl Worley. If they can't trade him, they're going to cut him. That's another situation where you've got young players who just haven't performed, and now they're on the chopping block. That's how brutal it can be. That's how brutal it can be. And Dontari Poe made back-to-back Pro Bowls, 2013, 2014 with Kansas City, and here we are 5 years later. Well, he's not a young player; he's a vet, but I mean, hey, he hasn't been performing. It's just been one of those things. So there looks to be a lot of trade activity on the horizon, but teams are getting ready to start shopping. So wouldn't be surprised if we saw a number of players who are being shopped around and thus finding their way onto other squads. But really, you know, it's just one of those things. There's a lot of teams right now vying for a lot of different positions. You know, there's a lot of teams that are trying to position themselves a little bit stronger. You see that with Seattle. They're trying to get a little bit stronger. You know, it's not going to be, I don't think there's going to be maybe, I don't know about the Stephon Gilmore kind of trade. I don't know if that's necessarily a trade that teams are going to bite on. You know, I don't see any of the huge contenders right now having a really big problem at that adding one cornerback is necessarily going to solve. But I mean, you never know. We've got a week until the deadline, and that's going to be that. We'll find out then. Let's see what some of you guys are saying here in the chat. Let's see here. Says if Cam doesn't improve, where do the Patriots go, especially next season? I mean, the Patriots got to go to the draft. That's kind of what they're looking at. They might be able to get a decent enough quarterback. You know, if their season doesn't improve, if they don't start getting the wins in that, you know, we would expect them to, I could see that being a problem. I could see that being a direction they take. And Cam's only got a 1-year deal in New England. He's only got a 1-year season, or 1-year contract. So, you know, if they're looking to get, you know, they'll know by the end of this season whether or not they're going to stick with Cam. I don't think that's something that too many people are going to be shocked by if they release him or not, or don't re-sign him after the season's over with. You know, there's different scenarios for different teams. I think the Cardinals are definitely a team that might try to make a move. The Cardinals could probably use, you know, players on defense. A lot of teams are giving up a lot of points this year. I wonder what the average is right now. Actually, let's see, because I mean, a lot of teams have been giving up a lot of points. Offenses have been scoring like crazy. Let's see. Offensive leaders, defensive leaders. Let's see here. Yards per game. Points. Let me see. All right, so wow, the Ravens have given, I'll share this with you guys so you guys can see it. The Ravens have given up 104 points. And I'm going to check on a couple of different seasons to see where this kind of goes here. So the Ravens have given up the least amount of points. Or wait. Yeah, points per game. They're giving up 17 points a game. They've given up a total 104 points. And let's see here. Cowboys have given up 243 points. They're giving up 34 points a game. As you can see there, my Jaguars are third from last. But let's see. So if let's see, 243, that's for 2020. Let's go back to 2017. Okay, so 2017. Well, this is over the course of the season. So if we're going into week 8. So if you split that in half, that's what? That's going to be 213. 215, and 252. Or 252 is the bet. Well, I mean, it looks like it's about on par. Let's go 2018. Oh, 467, 283, Bears. 2019, 225, New England. New England had the best scoring defense in the league in 2019. Okay. And 494, Miami. So you're talking about 17 games, 17 weeks. Right now, I would say going into week 8, it's about on par. So I guess it's maybe in the first half, it's been a lot of scoring, but really, a lot of the top teams, if we're looking at it here, a lot of the top teams in scoring are, well, it's a mix because you got the Dolphins in there. I mean, they're all competitive. They're all competing in their division right now. Bears, yeah. Titans right here, Chargers, Green Bay. Yeah, I think the top 15 are most of the teams that are in competitive zones right now. Minus Cleveland. Cleveland gives up a ton of points. Ooh. Okay. Well, we see that. We definitely see that. Let me see. Let's take a look at the power rankings real quick. Week 8 in the NFL. Let's take a look at the power rankings. I'm pretty sure with Tampa Bay performing the way that they've been performing, going to be seeing a little bit of a bump from them. Well, let's check it out. Bleacher Report's power rankings for week 8. And of course, you got the New York Jets, garbage at 32. Hot garbage. They are in the Trevor Lawrence sweepstakes as we speak. Oh, man. What's that going to do to Sam Darnold's life? That's going to make his Giants too. Giants coming in at 31, 1-6. Another team that you're wondering about what they're going to do with their quarterback. Daniel Jones. I mean, we all remember this, don't we? Think we all remember this. This guy ran 80 yards and decides, you know what? No, I'm just going to give it up. Look at this guy. How do you trip over your own feet? Come on, man. And that is a perfect microcosm. Oh, wait. Did I not show it to you guys? I did show it. I think I showed it. Oh, I just clicked off it. But 80-yard run, stumbled all over himself. I mean, that's a perfect microcosm of their entire season. It's just a bunch of false starts, a bunch of fumbling around, and that's why these guys are still where they are. They might be looking for a new quarterback before it's all said and done. They already lost Saquon. He's gone with that torn ACL, unfortunately. But Giants not looking good. And the Jaguars. Another team that's 1-6. Hadn't been able to crack 30 on the list. You know, I've said a million times how my perspective is about the Jaguars. Just not being managed the way that you want to manage a franchise that has any intention on being a winner at any point in their franchise history. This is a team that doesn't have much to look forward to. You know, they've sold the Duval community Gardner Minshew. Now, it's not his fault, but I never really bought into him as being that franchise guy just because he doesn't have any weapons that he's really got around him. They're dismantling the entire defense. Well, what is this guy going to do? They're starting to rebuild, and they're selling him as a product for ticket sales, for merchandise, but there's no real intent of this guy being the franchise guy. So now they're 1-6, and they might even fumble away the opportunity of having a shot at Trevor Lawrence because I have a feeling Gardner Minshew is going to sabotage those cats. He's trying to win every game from this week on out. But moving on, number 29, Falcons. I mean, this picture pretty much says it all, does it not? Doesn't this picture pretty much tell you everything you need to know about these Atlanta Falcons? Can't even win the game the right way. They had some nice uniforms this year. I thought they were nice. I think the uniforms are nice. I like it. It's very Atlanta. It is very Atlanta, their uniforms. I'll say that much. But for goodness sake, For goodness sake. You can't even win the game the right way. And this, look, people will jump on Todd Gurley about this. And look, partially, yes, I can understand that. Pile on a little bit, but understand this guy's not a dummy. He's made that play before. His momentum was just, if you watch the play, his momentum, he was being carried forward. He just couldn't stop. And all you have to do is break the plane. The best thing he could have, there's really, if he couldn't get down, if he couldn't just let himself go down when they tried to tackle him, which they didn't really try. They just kind of tried to keep him moving forward. Best case scenario, I would have thought would be just fumble it. Just fumble the ball. Do something, because you can't have this happen. This reminds me of when I was in Jacksonville. We were playing against the Jets in New York, back when they still had Rex Ryan. And we had this exact situation. We were inside the 10-yard line, and there was about a minute and some change left. And we needed to take a knee. We ran a dive play just so we could just run the clock out. But when we got to the line of scrimmage, the Jets, the entire defense opened up. They lined up in wide shades. The linebackers moved out of the middle, and they just kind of went through the motions of playing defense. And Maurice Jones-Drew ran right up the middle, didn't get touched. And when he got to the 1-yard line, he slid and took a knee at the 1. And then we just kneeled out the rest of the clock. They were so pissed. It was hilarious. But that's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to stop. And he just couldn't. His momentum carried him. Nothing he could do about it. But hey, should have prepared better. You would have done better. Moving on, Houston Texans. Another picture that perfectly encapsulates their entire season at this point. 1-6, nothing to look forward to, nothing you want to look back on. I played against that guy a lot of times. I played against him, I think, at least 6 times, maybe 8. Good player, good dude, and I'm pretty sure he wants to watch this franchise get better, but he probably won't be there to see it. Moving on. Minnesota Vikings, 1-5. These Vikings, these guys just sent Yannick Ngakoue to Baltimore. Yannick Ngakoue won twice. He got out of Jacksonville, then he got out of Minnesota once they figured out they weren't going to have a good season. These guys are 1-5. They're on a bye week. They're getting ready for a rebuild. Nothing much to see here. Oh, I love stopping on this one. I love it. I love to just look at it because it's hilarious. It's always hilarious. Always hilarious to see the Dallas Cowboys floundering when every year all you hear is how much these guys are going to win the Super Bowl. It's this year. The Cowboys are going to win the Super Bowl. Man, they've been saying that since 1997. They've been saying it forever that these Cowboys are going to win the Super Bowl. They're going to win. How about them Cowboys? I grew up in Dallas. I hated the Cowboys. I was a Niners and Tampa Bay fan growing up. Niners when they had Steve Young, and Buccaneers when they just had that amazing defense. They kept losing every year in the playoffs, but I was a hardcore fan, and they finally made it my freshman year in college. 2002, they won the Super Bowl. Always been a Tampa Bay fan, always been a San Francisco fan. And, of course, I'm a Jacksonville fan. But this is just lovely to see. And I see in the chat, I got my guy 5 Points Vids in the chat. What is going on? 5 points. 5 points. Great time on his show, on their Dumpster Fire show last night. Had a great time. Really appreciate it, my friend. I'll be on with these guys later today on Among Us. Make sure you subscribe to 5 Points Vids if you haven't already done so. Make sure you subscribe to Dumpster Fire if you haven't already done so. That's the kind of co-op channel that 5 Points and Urinate and Tree and their community of guys work on. Love being on their show. Hope to be back on it again. But really appreciate you coming in, man. Checking us out. I'm over here talking Cowboys. These Cowboys, 26th on the power rankings. I think that it's clear to see that the fire sale has begun in Dallas. They're starting to get rid of pieces, get rid of players. Now, a lot of people will talk about the John Bostic hit on Andy Dalton. I think it was a low blow of a hit. I think it was a dirty hit. But are any of us really surprised that these Cowboys are in the position they're in right now? Are we? I don't think we are surprised. Why? Because we saw this coming with Mike McCarthy. I think we all saw this coming with Mike McCarthy. And then you have players leaking out information from within the Cowboys saying they just aren't good at their jobs. This right here. Once somebody says something like this to the media, it's pretty much over. I think it's pretty much over. I think Mike McCarthy, if the Cowboys continue to stink it up the rest of the season, I'm willing to bet that Mike McCarthy gets fired by the end of the season. But things are looking bad for the Cowboys right now. Now, let's go to Denver Broncos. Yeah, it looks like a cold, desolate land of nothingness in Denver. Not much of anything to talk about in way of what that team is even doing. So unless you're a huge Denver fan, we're going to keep right on moving right past them to the Bengals. Now, the Bengals, 1-5-1. Joe Burrow's finding out what it means to be an NFL quarterback on a bad team. And you know what? I like this guy. I really do like Joe Burrow. I like what he's doing. I like how he's playing. You know, these guys are, you know, they're not going to get it done this year. We all know that, but it's good to at least see him going out there and playing and doing what he can do. Now, one thing they got to be worried about with him, big time injuries. That's why, for me, as if I was a head coach, Joe Burrow wouldn't be playing. He would not be playing this season. Andy Dalton would still be in Cincinnati. He'd have a lame duck season. See what he can do. You know, maybe, you know, he's definitely, you know, giving him a chance basically to put some film together for one last season for free agency. But definitely would have sat Joe Burrow and allowed him to have his first starts with a team that's decent enough to be better than they are right now. Washington football team, 2-5. They just got done shellacking the Cowboys. This isn't even a good team, but they're showing a little something to build on. I'm sure Ron Rivera is going to be trying to find the right pieces that show themselves throughout the course of the season. So that he can build on that and create a bigger or a better core group of football players for their team next year. Eagles, they're running around without their helmet off. They're trying to figure it out. They beat the Giants, but come on, guys, let's be real. That game was way too close. They should have blew out the Giants. It is what it is out there in Philly. They're having a rough one. Detroit, this is actually a little bit surprising to me. Maybe it's because of their schedule. Maybe it's because they've got a little bit of ease of use here. But Matthew Stafford is playing well enough. This team is at 500 right now. Not something that I definitely would have expected after the first couple weeks of the season. But I've always had a belief in Matthew Stafford. I don't know what it is. I just feel like he's a Brett Favre kind of quarterback for some reason. I just feel like he's on a bad team. He's on a franchise that just cannot find its way. And the messed up part about all of this is that Matt Patricia is going to get another year if he keeps doing this. He's kind of doing himself. Oh, man. Oh, I feel for the guy. I feel for him. But the Lions are at 21 on the power rankings. They're finding some things that are clicking. You know, they're doing some things. You know, maybe not winning the way that one would hope. I mean, they definitely lucked out against the Falcons again, but who hasn't? This guy took him down the field. Matthew Stafford, took him down the field and won the game. I mean, what more can you say? I don't think that you can really complain. I just know that in the long run, kind of hurting their future prospects with Patricia. Number 20, we got New England. We've gone over this with Cam Newton, this whole situation, how everything could fall into place for him or could fall apart the rest of the way for the Patriots. Bill Belichick, put his stamp of approval on him, backed him up. And after 98 yards and 3 interceptions, we're going to see if Cam Newton's going to bounce back from that in their next game, in their next outing. We'll see how that goes. 19, Chargers. I'm high on this guy. This guy right here, this guy is going to be big. He's going to be a big star in this league. He is playing out of his mind. This guy is he's the real deal. Young passer, too. Young passer. He's already got over 1,500 yards passing and a passer rating over 100 in his first 5 career games. That should tell you all you need to know there. 18, Panthers. I think the Panthers are actually, they're making some moves. They lost to New Orleans, but they were competitive. New Orleans has kind of figured things out now. They're moving in a good direction. The Panthers are trying to keep momentum, but this is a team that could potentially surprise us down the road. Don't hold your breath, but they could. Las Vegas Raiders, same situation. This is a team that I feel like could surprise some folks. They're building it the right way. They're getting some good production out of their players. They obviously they got beat by Tampa. We know that, but this is a team that has some upside. We're starting to see some nice things coming out of them. Number 16, 49ers. 49ers got a winning record, and they're beaten and battered. And they've still got a winning record thanks to the Patriots. But George Kittle, obviously, huge part of that. We all know what he brings to the table. 49ers trying to keep things moving. Number 15, the Dolphins. This is one where I think this is a crucial position right here for the Dolphins. They're 3-3. They're at 500. They're making a quarterback change. I don't agree with the quarterback change. I don't agree with it. I think that these guys should be keeping Fitzpatrick out there. They're putting Tua Tagovailoa in. They're putting him in a situation that can either end up going really good or really bad. And I think that you should know better than that if you're an NFL GM. This guy right now, this team is at a point where a couple more wins and they're 5-3 with Fitzpatrick. And now they're talking about the division and they're talking about the playoffs. But you're changing your team's chemistry. You're changing your team's energy. You're potentially changing your team's momentum when you bring in the rookie out of Alabama, first round top pick. I feel like it's a dangerous thing to do. I feel like this could come back and bite them very badly in the ass. And they got a bye week here. So, they're going to feel as if, he got an extra week to prepare. But he's still, who are they going up against this week? We'll see here. I'm going to go through this one real quick because I really want to see Miami succeed, and I want to see Tua succeed. But I think that they're setting them up for what could be failure. It says despite 3-3 record that puts Dolphins squarely in the mix in both the AFC East and the wild card hunt, Miami somewhat surprisingly decided to make a switch at quarterback when the Dolphins next take the field against the Los Angeles Rams. In week 8, Tua Tagovailoa will be the starter under center. The move raised eyebrows given how well Ryan Fitzpatrick had been playing, but head coach Brian Flores said it was the right time to make the move. We just felt it was the best move for the team to make right now. No, I just don't understand that. I don't understand how that is the best move to make. You've already made all the best moves. Things are going swell for you guys. That's how we're going to move forward. Given that making the switch at the bye gives Tagovailoa an extra week to prepare, there is a logic to the move. And while Fitzpatrick admittedly balled out for the Dolphins this year, he's not the future under center in Miami. Tua is. See, that's the problem. That's the problem right there, is that these guys are allowing themselves to have a knee-jerk reaction to the hype train that Tua has been put on. by people around the team, by people, from the outside, by the media, by the fans. Like, you guys are 3-3. You don't fix what's not broken. It's not broke. Don't fix it. Keep Fitz in there and allow him to keep the momentum of the team going. Allow him to keep the momentum of the team going, because Tua is learning more and more from this guy. Let him continue to learn. Give him a season to sit. Make sure his body is 100%, without any doubt, ready to go for 2021. This year, you were looking at as a wash to begin with. So let Fitzpatrick control the team. See what you guys can make of it. If you guys make it into the playoffs under a Fitzpatrick at quarterback, imagine the kind of hype that Tua is going to have next year. Because Fitzpatrick knows that it's Tua's town. It is. He knows that. And even if he makes it to the playoffs, I'm sure he knows that the scenario will play out with him being the backup or being traded or, something of that nature when the next season comes around. But let it just be the year that Tua learns how to be a professional, learns how to play the game the way that Fitzpatrick is showing him how to play and the way that his coaches are coaching him how to play. And then on a more personal side, don't screw over the guy who's gotten you to where you are. You're screwing him over. You're screwing him. He knows it. He feels it. You guys are screwing him over. And to me, if that's what they're going to do, then, they're not showing him the respect or the honor that he deserves as a veteran player who has played at a lot of teams in this league and has done a lot of good things for a lot of teams. They're not showing him his respect. I think that's wrong. I think he deserves to be treated better. And if they better at the very least be tossing him an extra $500,000 on his contract this year, because that's wrong what they did to him. But let's move on. Chicago Bears. I think we all know Bears are the imposter, right? They are the imposter. These guys took a pretty big shellacking from the Rams. The Rams came to play and put it to them. And now the Bears, while still holding control of their division, it's still, I still don't believe it. I think they'll get worse. Cleveland Browns. This is a team that's at another crossroads and where they're at and where they're going as a team. I think they're right at the cusp of being able to turn a corner. They need to string a couple more wins together. That beat down from Pittsburgh. Hey, get over it, move on. They beat Cincinnati. You got a little confidence back. Now, it's time to try and press forward, because they're going to have another showdown with Pittsburgh, and they better be ready for the second one, because ain't nobody trying to hear that shit if they ain't. They still the Browns if they can't beat them the second time. Colts who quietly went 4-2. Don't know that I care too much about the Colts being as their division foe, but Phillip Rivers has proven some people wrong. He hasn't been perfect, hasn't been like great or nothing like that. But they've strung some things together. They're 4-2. We'll see how it plays out. The Rams obviously just got a big win against the Bears. This is a team that is starting to, they're starting to pull it together. Jared Goff still looks like crap. Don't think he's really the guy that they thought he was going to be when they handed him $100+ million. But he did a decent enough job. He had a 108 QB rating against that game against the Bears. The Bears defense was just out there forever. Wasn't going to work for them. Number 10, we got the Bills. The Bills beat the Jets. That was another game that shouldn't have been very close, but they're kind of licking their wounds in Buffalo after that loss to the Titans and then to the Chiefs. So they're really they were just looking for a win. They got one, and the next few weeks are going to be important for them. Number 9, the Cardinals, another team that I feel like is starting to may have found the fire at the right time. They beat the top dogs in their division. They beat the Seahawks in prime time. It was an overtime win, yeah, but shoot, that was a battle of the past versus the future. The past and the present, I should say, versus the future, because Russell Wilson is still a beast. But they should have won that game. They didn't. And now that has given some new life to these Cardinals. This franchise believes in itself right now. The fans believe in them. And, I think that, I think they're going to be contending. When it's all said and done, it's going to be them trying to topple the champs in their division to take control of it. Who knows if they'll win or lose, but it's going to be, I think it'll come down to them. New Orleans Saints 4-2. They beat Carolina. They're holding on to control. They're starting to right the ship. When Drew Brees can throw the ball further than 30 yards more than 5 times in a game, then he's having a good week. So why take away from that? Number 7, Titans 5-1. They just lost to Pittsburgh, lost a close game, made a nice comeback, couldn't get it all the way over the hump. Tennessee obviously still in control of the AFC South. I think that this is one of the all-around. I think this is one of the most sound offensive units in the NFL. Now they are missing Taylor Lewan, left tackle, towards ACL. He's out, but I think over a few weeks that they'll be able to kind of patch that up and get consistent play from their tackle spots or their left tackle spot to try and cover up that that hole that he leaves on their line. Number 6, Tampa Bay 5-2. Tampa Bay had a good win against Vegas. I think this is kind of the other side of what we all thought about with the situation with Bill Belichick and the Patriots. A lot of people were thinking, who is it? What is it? What came first, the chicken or the egg? With this, it's who is the reason for the success, Brady or Belichick? Because they both showed up at the same time. But which one is the reason why? Because there were valid arguments for both sides. This is the reason why it's Belichick. This is the reason why it's Brady. They both had valid arguments, and I think we're slowly beginning to see one side gain the advantage in being able to proclaim that they are the reason that the other was successful. Tom Brady started this season miserably in Tampa Bay, well below our expectations. I mean, if we had huge expectations to begin with. And this week, from week 3 onward, we've seen Tom Brady pull this team together better and better and better and better and better. And, this game against Las Vegas was no slouch team to deal with. This was the team that took down the Chiefs. And Tampa Bay won that game 45-20. Tom Brady went for 369 and 4 tuts. Tom Brady's looking good. He's looking like time is chasing him. He ain't chasing time. Rob Gronkowski is starting to get some play out there. Gronk is getting some work. And now they got Antonio Brown. Well, damn. Looks like these boys could be a threat for real if Antonio Brown doesn't destroy the team. I wouldn't expect that he would. I think I'm going to give Antonio Brown this one last opportunity to show and prove that he can be a responsible adult long enough to finish his NFL career. Let's see what happens. I think it's a 50-50 shot, but I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt this season. He knows he can't come in there and mess nothing up. If he messes it up, his career is over. He knows that. If he messes this one up, mark my words. If he messes this one up, if he messes up his time in Tampa, his career is over. His career is over. Nobody wanted him. They had an entire offseason to decide what they wanted to do with him. Nobody wanted him. Nobody wanted him. So, if he doesn't take advantage of the situation at hand and take care of what he needs to take care of on the field and off the field, it's going to be over for him. And that's going to be all she wrote. And we're going to talk about stories about how he could have been the greatest receiver of his era, but, and I know there's a few guys out there who I can already say that for right now. Number 5, Seattle Seahawks. Ooh, that was a tough loss. But it's a loss that I think they can get over quickly. I think it's a loss that they've probably already moved past. This is a team that understands what's at stake. This is a team that understands how to win. This is a team that knows who its leaders are, and it follows its leaders. And regardless of, the mistakes that Russell Wilson made in that game, he threw an interception that almost got returned for a touchdown. We all saw it. And just to kind of speak to, in a way, the kind of respect that his players have for him, his teammates have for him, DK Metcalf, sprints 100 yards down the field to chase down the mistake that Russell Wilson made on that play. That's the kind of belief that these players have in that team. And that in and of itself tells you, everybody's going to talk about the memes of, oh, well, look at the speed that Metcalf has. Look at the hustle. But why is he hustling though? Why? Not just because it's the right thing to do. It's because in every situation that this franchise has dealt with Russell Wilson, he has had the back of his teammates. He has had the fortitude of a leader, of a general, and he has been in the field performing with them for years. Every player that comes in there that buys into that culture in Seattle understands what this guy puts on the line each and every week. So they will put everything they have on the line for him each and every week. That is the mark of a leader. Him chasing down Budda Baker was in part his dedication to having his quarterback's back even when he makes a mistake. Russell Wilson had given up on trying to catch Budda Baker. He gave up on it. And he was even surprised to see, there goes DK Metcalf, full speed, chasing him down for his leader. That's how much they buy into each other. And that's why it doesn't matter where these guys are in the power ranking. They're going to be near the top as so long as they have number 3 leading them, they'll be near the top. They lost that game, but this is a team that I'm telling you, this team is they're out there. Their championship pedigree through and through. Number 4, Baltimore Ravens. Baltimore has been quietly doing their thing. They got the bye week, but they've been quietly doing their thing. They just added Yannick Ngakoue. This is a team that's getting ready to make a run because, of all of the top teams, of all of the top 5 teams in this power ranking, this one is the quietest, I would think. This is the quietest 5-1 of the top teams in the NFL. Because I think the fact of the matter is, and this is my opinion, we don't believe them right now. I don't believe them. Even at 5-1, I don't buy that they're a championship contender. I don't buy it. I don't. They know why. They know why I don't buy them. They know because this is the same show we saw last year. You guys' schedule, you guys' strength of schedule isn't even in the top, isn't even ranked near the top of the league. But this is the same show we saw last year. This is a team that looks great. They look great, but they're missing something. And we were enamored with Lamar Jackson last year, rightfully so. The dude was the best player in the NFL, and he kind of transcended his position as a leader on that team. But this year, no, something's missing. It's not the same kind of. It's not the same energy. It's not the same kind of dominance. It's not the same kind of high octane Baltimore just football that we saw last year. I mean, in a way it is, but in a way it's not. There's something missing, and I think that we know that regardless of what their record is, we need to see what happens in the postseason on the first game before we can buy in. For me, before I really can buy in, you guys got to prove to me that y'all can win with a good record when it really matters in the playoffs, because you didn't do that last year. And now there's a little bit of doubt that's seeped into me about you guys. So Green Bay, this is a team that, this is a huge week for them. They got to bounce back. They have to bounce back. Can't be having another game like they had last week. And I will, hey, maybe it was an anomaly. We don't know. Tampa Bay went up and down, up in a whole shit. And they needed to bounce back. Now, 35-20 against Houston. Is that really a bounce back? Yeah, y'all won by 2 scores, but I'm not convinced that that's the game that tells me you guys have got your minds back right. I just don't see it. I'm not buying that. Not buying it. So we need to see what happens. Oh, they got the Vikings this week. Well, the Vikings, that's a division matchup. I expect that will be a much more competitive game maybe than the Vikings have played all season. But that win against Houston, I'm iffy on that. Kansas City at number 2, 6-1. They're back on track. They came back in a big way. That is how, and of course they blew out Denver. But this team reestablished their focus, reestablished their motivation, reestablished everything they want to do after they lost to Las Vegas. They reestablished themselves. They held themselves to a higher standard. That's what champions do. So good to see that they do what's expected when they get knocked down to the mat, is that they come back with championship medal, and they've been on a bit of a run since. And our number one, got to give it up. Pittsburgh Steelers, 6-0. They're number 1. They earned it. They're undefeated. Nobody's beat them. So it doesn't matter how much you hate them. Doesn't matter how much you don't care for them. You got to recognize they got that goose egg next to their in their loss column. No losses. 6-0. This is a team that's playing lights out football. They're playing clutch time football. They're playing big boy football. They're playing Big Ben football. I like what they're doing. I like what they're doing in Pittsburgh. I think that, again, it just speaks to the culture that's been instilled there for decades. Decades. So let's go through this real quickly to end this stream. For a good portion of Sunday's matchup between the undefeated Pittsburgh Steelers and unbeaten Tennessee Titans, it looked like the road team was going to win in a rout. The Steelers led 27-7 and looked like the best team in the NFL by a wide margin. The Titans were able to make a game of it and almost sent the game into overtime, but the comeback came up short. The Steelers moved to 6-0 ahead of Week 8's AFC North showdown with the Baltimore Ravens. Whoo, that's going to be a big game. There were a couple of causes for concern in the game. The Steelers were held under 100 yards rushing, and Steelers quarterback Ben Roethlisberger threw 3 interceptions. Yeesh. But when a team has a defense as formidable as Pittsburgh's, the offense doesn't have to be flawless. Playing a Titans team that rolled up points and yardage with ease a week ago, the Steelers held the Tennessee Titans to just 292 yards of offense. And just a side note, I am working on my breakdown of the Tennessee Titans offensive line in this game against Pittsburgh. That should be ready and baked by Friday for you guys. So make sure you check out for that. Make sure you hit that notification bell so you get notified as soon as I drop that video. But I'm actually doing a breakdown of Tennessee's O-line play in this game because I think that there were a lot of little issues that Tennessee had on their O-line in the run game particularly that kind of cost them in way of being able to keep some drives going. Pittsburgh did a heck of a job of being on the field. They kept Tennessee's offense off the field for like 17 plays. Almost an entire quarter. That was a good game plan to run with for the Steelers. It worked for them. But continue here. It says running back Derrick Henry, who entered the week 7 as the league's leading rusher, had 75 yards on 20 carries. Pittsburgh's pass rush harassed Tannehill with regularity, amassing a pair of sacks and half a dozen QB hits. Steelers have earned their status atop these power rankings, but this week's matchup with their arch rivals will pose another stiff test. Typically, when discussing the best team in the league, the topic veers towards an explosive offense, exciting quarterback play, and/or stingy defense. While some of that is true with Pittsburgh's case as the only remaining undefeated team, the reason behind the Steelers' success is much simpler. They are easily the most physical football team and simply bludgeon opponents in the trenches. It's awesome to watch. Well, being as that they are an undefeated team, I won't argue against that sentiment. Pittsburgh is one of those franchises that's prided themselves for decades on their physicality, on being a physical team that just overpowers their opponents with their will and determination. But of course, in 2020, the Steelers, after a couple years of kind of, tailing off a little bit with a lot of injuries, with Big Ben going down, getting rid of disgruntled players like Le'Veon Bell, these guys have kind of revamped themselves and brought themselves back into the picture as a contender that we knew that they would probably be based on, just the history that this team has. And Pittsburgh is number one in the power rankings, and that's for good reason. But appreciate everybody for being here today on the Lineman Life podcast. Make sure you're smashing that like button. Make sure you share this with your friends. I'll be dropping some edits of this podcast here tonight for you guys to look at. So it'll be broken down more by topic. But I appreciate all you guys very much. Next week, looking to get a guest on the show. So stay tuned to find out who that is. Make sure you are subscribed with that bell notification tapped. I appreciate you guys very much for being here for the Lineman Life podcast. And we will catch you all on the next one. Peace.